The latest Pompey news, updates every day from the Pompey Sound news desk.
Yesterday on Pompey Sound, we ran a news item about Pompey's success in bringing in bargain basement players which other clubs have overlooked and helping them improve beyond recognition. The main focus of our attention was DOZZELL, who many people wrote off when he arrived at Fratton Park as being a QPR reject. We highlighted how he made a slow start in the blue shirt, but it became apparent to all and sundry over a period of a few short months that he had begun to establish himself as being a serious contender for a regular starting place. Perhaps the first thing that came to everyone's attention was his ball-winning skills. All teams need an untiring midfield player who has bite to his game, and DOZZELL, a sizable athlete for a central midfield player, has pace, stamina and impact. In a fine piece in the news, he is at lengths to attribute his improvement to the Pompey coaching staff, and John Mazzino in particular. Here's a sample of what he says.
The manager has helped me, all the staff have. We go through clips, we look at how we can improve and get better. It's a good environment, and I'm really enjoying it. I think I'm playing well. I believe I've established myself and found a position which suits me and a team which suits me. I would say I'm in the best form of my career. Consistently, this is probably the best patch I've ever been in. I'm 26 now and still have a lot of years left. Hopefully I can keep getting better and better. I've had good spells at other clubs, but I'm looking to grow, looking to add. Me and the staff are always talking about how we can improve, and it's a good environment for me. It's down to many factors. I'm getting older now. I feel I now know more than I've ever done. I am more mature. Off the ball, I've improved under this manager. It's about not letting games go by, just having that impact on the team. That's not necessarily goals or assists, but your impact on the team in a positive way, and I feel like I can do that. Circumstances, managers, style of play can all have a factor on why you're not playing at your best. I feel I'm playing okay at the minute, but I still have a lot to improve on. There are still a lot of levels I can reach, and hopefully I can do that.
Yeah, it's a fine piece in the news. You want to go to their website if you want to check out the whole piece. I think this is another example, isn't it, of something that we've been getting quite a bit of over the last 72 hours in particular, and that is Pompey players saying almost straightforward and out loud that they have ambitions to be borderline Premier League players. And what I mean by that is that the playoffs this season are unlikely, but not out of the question. And the playoffs, at the very least, next season will probably be the agenda. And if you're 26, such as DOZZELL is, that means that at the age of 28 or 29, which is perfectly young and acceptable, he could be playing Premier League football, and that's what he'd like to do. That's what he'd like to have on his CV. That's what he'd like to tell his grandchildren, that he played in the best league in the world. We've heard it from Regan Poole first, a couple of days ago, saying exactly this, that Pompey are playoff material, he thinks. Given, the rub of the green, the luck of the Irish, the toss of the coin, whatever. A little bit of luck and we could be there and thereabouts and we wouldn't be shown up. Not in the current state that the Championship is. Highly competitive, but there are not yet any obvious superstar teams emerging. We're never going to be one of the superstar teams, not this season anyway, but that means that we can hold our own with anybody, so who knows. And then Josh Murphy said something similar 24 hours later, that his ambitions remain the Premier League. He, of course, is now 30, and therefore it needs to come soon for him, sooner than DOZZELL, who seems to be hinting at the same thing, that he would like to play Premier League football. He feels as though he's improved enough in order to make that transition from being a player who many thought perhaps would be lucky to hold down a place in a League One side. He now clearly feels that he is top half Championship material and maybe better than that. And that's what we like to hear. We want our players to be realistically confident and not cocky, not arrogant, but be aware of what they can achieve and what they can do on the pitch. And it's great to hear that this young man, DOZZELL, is starting to have a little bit of modest swagger, if that's not an oxymoron. So how do Pompey do it? How do they find players for next to nothing? players that other clubs spend £10 million on, and our bargain basement players turn out to be as good, if not sometimes better, than the £10 million men. Well, John Messino has been open as ever and eloquent in explaining exactly how the business of recruitment is influenced by the needs of the head coach and how the head coach dovetails his influence into the recruitment policy. Here's what he has to say.
I've now been at the football club for almost 3 years. The way we recruit has actually been pretty consistent over that time. It has just changed in terms of the challenges when recruiting in League One, when it was pretty straightforward. It's a lot more difficult in the Championship for us in terms of where we are. We still follow the same process. The recruitment team go away and do all their work day to day, during the season and during the window. Then they come back with a long list, which becomes a short list. I'm always in touch with the recruiting department and Rich about that. However, I don't really get involved in the detail until we have a shortened number of players available for each position. I still have a huge amount of involvement in that recruitment. It's about making sure the club has a sporting director and recruitment department, which oversees the club's interests, but we also have to mix that with what the head coach actually wants. Seg's signing was pretty straightforward. He was the joint top scorer in the A-League last year at the age of 20. He's massively energetic, can score off both feet, and puts himself into really good positions. It was a bit of a no-brainer, really.
In a modern club, the head coach, we used to call him the manager, let's call John Messino the manager for the time being, just so that we're clear about it. He does seem to have overall control of absolutely everything that goes off on and around the pitch. But a lot of clubs still have managers who simply refuse to accept the notion that they are head coach, and they don't want a sporting director still, and they don't want a head of recruitment still. And yet Pompey are blazing a trail now with a template for a structure, management structure, which is clearly successful, and that we can see how it works from what John Messino, well, we can see how it works from tracking the activity that takes place and the information that comes out when activity actually happens and turns into a recruit. We can see how it's done. And John Messino is simply clarifying exactly how it's done. The recruitment team go away and do the hard graft. They crunch the numbers, the stats. They must spend hours looking at laptop screens. Bless them. And then, when they've whittled it down to a medium list from their long list, then they get John Messino in to help the the medium list, come down to a short list. Although, as he quite rightly says, Segicic was a no-brainer. But if it was a no-brainer, why didn't anybody else do it? Because we're better than anybody else at it.
Pompey fans are learning to live with a simple home truth, namely that John Messino plays a canny game of poker with his team selections. He likes to spring surprises on the opposition. Has any manager in recent times sprung a bigger surprise than the selection of Colby Bishop to play his first game back from heart surgery in November, when it had been touted that he wouldn't play until well into the new year? Messino managed to keep it under wraps until an hour before kickoff. It's a game he plays so well, especially when it comes to withholding information about players with injuries. This applies particularly with players who have a high-profile influence on the course a match takes, and nobody in a blue shirt has greater influence on the game than our left-winger Josh Murphy. So when Messino claims that Murphy won't play against Leicester but might start against Stoke, it sows the seeds of doubt in the minds of fans, but mostly the opposition. After all, the Pompey manager is on record as saying, quote, "Sometimes I tell lies."
Okay, the reason that John Messino is focusing on Josh Murphy and the unlikelihood that he's going to start against Leicester, take any part in the game against Leicester, and he's talking about it loudly, and he's sowing the seeds of doubt in the Leicester backroom staff. The reason is because Leicester have a lopsided defence. At right back, which is, of course, the position that is going to be the target of Josh Murphy if he plays, their right back positions, they've got two right backs, Ricardo Pereira and Oladabe Aluko, and their value on the transfer market, collectively, the two of them, is £4 million. A lot of money, awful lot of money, but it's almost entirely Pereira because the stand-in for Pereira, the second choice right back, Olabade Aluko, is only 18 years old and has zero transfer value. Okay? That's them at right back. Whoever's left wing for Pompey is going to be up against one of those two, probably Pereira. But if you're playing right wing for Pompey, and if Murphy comes back, then Yang will almost certainly be given that shirt, the technically number 7 shirt, to play right wing. And whoever's playing right wing for Pompey against Leicester is going to be playing up against a left back who is one of 2 players whose collective transfer value is, are you sitting down, £21 million. Victor Christiansen, who is valued Dane, who is valued at 15 million quid. Okay, and he's number 2, right? The reserve left back at Leicester, Luke Thomas, is valued at 6 million quid. All right, so if one's transfer value is any fair reflection of one's ability, whoever is going to be playing on the right up front for Pompey against Leicester is going to have his work cut out, compared to whoever is playing left wing for Pompey, who is going to be given a slightly easier ride. That's the way it could work out. And in a sense, that's the way it should work out. But part of the reason we love football is it rarely works out in practice how it looks on paper. However, our John Messino could be playing gentle, happy mind games, not dark arts, just legit mind games with the Leicester coaching staff by having them think to themselves, 2 boys at right back, are they going to be facing a 30-year-old wizard with proven track record who's the 9th fastest footballer on earth at running, Josh Murphy? Or is he going to be facing this kid who they say is destined to be a world-class player, a world-renowned player, and who scores goals for fun cutting in from the left, can play with either foot, and he scores a lot of goals. Seggs, by the way, in this scenario, come what may, is going to be our number 10, most certainly, on Saturday evening. Remember that. We won't be able to relax until 10 o'clock on Saturday night, but let's hope we can relax on Saturday night and that the team perform to the best of their abilities and get something against Leicester. Our manager is already starting to perform against Leicester, I think, with his, am I lying or not, act, mind games. It's good to be good at every aspect of football, isn't it? And finally, we've got a manager who plays the brain game so well.